Okay, here it is. The SpongeBob Seasons Ranked video. There is only one favorite season for me out of 13 seasons, but I will be reviewing all of the seasons starting with the first one, then I will be explaining my favorite one. So, let's get right to it. SpongeBob Season 1. Season 1 is a really great season. I mean, what else can I really say about it? It's the season that basically started it all. I've seen some other SpongeBob Seasons Ranked videos, and some people literally leave Season 1 out because they said the producers just created Season 1 for a test.
Let's take out Season 1 from the competition because it was filled with experimentation.
Like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Season 1 still counts as a season in the show, even if it's a test. Whether it is or not, it's still a season. So, I don't know what they were thinking. But back to Season 1. I want to say Season 1 is the most humorous season out of them all. There's only like 3 episodes that make me laugh out loud, but all the other episodes aren't really humorous to me, and that's totally fine. Sometimes I like it when SpongeBob doesn't have a lot of humor. If it's just interesting, creative, and good stories, that's what I almost like the most. The writers weren't trying so hard to add jokes, quirky situations, and slapstick, which I really liked. They were just more interested in making good and interesting creative episodes. Sometimes when a cartoon tries way too hard to be funny than it is, everyone knows it gets very cringy, or when they're not trying to be funny at all and just make it plain weird for no reason. I'll get back into that later. I sort of get why people say Season 1 is a test though. Some of the stories in this season are like very weird, but that's what almost makes it great. They're stories you never usually see in cartoons. The writers and animators were really thinking outside of the box when it came to the season, and I think it really paid off. Another thing that I really liked, which kind of sounds weird, is the voice of the voice actors in the season. Their vocal cords just sound so clear, fresh, and young. They don't sound like they've been smoking cigarettes for 20 years like the modern SpongeBob seasons. The voice actors were so young and they just sounded better. Also, the animation in the season is cel animated, which basically means it was hand-drawn animation. I think that looks the best when it comes to cartoons, period. I'm not really big on computer animation, just something about cel animation just looks so smooth and fresh. Cel animation makes everything look so organic under the ocean. It makes it look like Bikini Bottom can actually exist in the ocean, as weird as that sounds. I always prefer cel over 2D and 3D animation, well, definitely over 3D animation. Cel animation just makes everything so alive and real. I'm not really sure how to explain it, but I always thought other cartoons' cel animation makes water look really cool. Alright, one more thing about why I love this season is the music. Most of the time I realized in Season 1 they barely have any of the stereotypical type cartoon music like they play usually in cartoons. It's mostly just relaxing ukulele Hawaiian music they play all the time. I love it because it makes it feel like you're underwater more and it gives you a relaxing and cheerful tone of the show. That's one of my favorite things about Season 1. I sometimes listen to the SpongeBob Season 1 soundtrack just because of their cheerful Hawaiian music. I wish as seasons went on they would put in more Hawaiian music, but instead, starting with Season 6, they added the stereotypical cartoon music like this. That sounds like complete and utter shit. I'll get into this cartoon music later. I'll give Season 1 a 10 out of 10. And by the way, my favorite episode in Season 1 is Opposite Day. It's a really creatively thought out episode that makes you laugh out loud every single time, and I just really love the episode. Alright, Season 2. Season 2 is probably the most humorous season out of them all. Literally, almost every single episode I watch, I laugh out loud. Season 1 had really interesting episodes and stories that were outside of the box, but in my opinion, there wasn't a lot of laugh out loud humor like I mentioned. I never necessarily laughed in Season 1, only in some episodes like Opposite Day. Season 2 was a lot more humorous and exciting. Not a huge fan of the animation they introduced, I'm a huge cel guy, but looking back at Camp Coral's animation and then looking back at Season 2, yeah, Season 2's animation is great. I think for the most part, Season 2 is everyone's favorite season, at least that's what it seems like. Almost everyone's favorite episode is Band Geek, so I imagine Season 2 is everyone's favorite season. My favorite episode of Season 2 would have to be Big Pink Loser though. That episode never gets old. They still have a lot of Hawaiian music in the season, so that's great. The writers and animators were really at their peak with this season with all new fresh ideas. I'd give Season 2 a 10 out of 10. Alright, Season 3. Beginning, middle, and end episodes are masterpiece worthy, but I'm not sure what happened towards the very end of the season, where one episode I saw I didn't really like. It just gets kind of weird. I mean, who knows? At the end of this SpongeBob movie, all the original writers from the first 3 seasons quit. So maybe they were just experiencing some burnout at the end of Season 3. I know people are probably getting pissed off and probably typing their comment right now, but this is literally just one episode I mentioned that isn't masterpiece worthy in Season 3. The episode is the sponge who could fly. I know probably everyone loves this episode for, like, some reason. Really, I don't know why people like this. Honestly, for a while, I thought this episode was either in Season 6 or Season 7, because it really seems like an episode that can be in those seasons. But I was really shocked to find out that it was in Season 3. Look, the thing I don't like about this episode is it's basically about SpongeBob wanting to fly, but he fails, so he ends up getting a blow dryer, putting it down his pants inflate, causing him to fly. He then wants to be a superhero all of a sudden, so he helps everyone while he's flying. He sings the first musical ever to play in SpongeBob episode, which totally sounds terrible, and then everyone gets jealous, shoots SpongeBob down while he's flying, and everyone regrets it, and then the episode ends. Tell me that doesn't sound like a Season 6 or even a Season 12 episode. I don't know what else to say, guys. I just really don't like this episode. 3 out of 10, that's my score of the episode. Still, every single episode, other than The Sponge Who Could Fly, is masterpiece worthy, so my favorite episode of Season 3 would have to be No Weenies Allowed. That should be everyone's favorite episode, hands down, period. I'm gonna give SpongeBob Season 3 a 9.5 out of 10, and I don't want to hear any complaints about that. That's still a really good score. Okay, SpongeBob Season 4. This is when everyone starts to not be so crazy about SpongeBob anymore. They don't outright hate it, but it's when people just have second thoughts of still watching SpongeBob. Honestly, I'm gonna say it, I love Season 4. I think it's almost just as great as Seasons 1 through 3. Almost every single episode here is different, creative, and hilarious. Does SpongeBob start to get a little teensy bit childish? A little bit. There are some episodes like the weird medieval episode in Chimps Ahoy, which is about the monkeys underwater who are friends of Sandy's that they all met on land, which doesn't make any sense because how the hell is a squirrel friends with monkeys when she previously lived in Texas? And then the one weird episode where SpongeBob and Squidward mix together. So, I don't know about all those episodes, but the rest actually seem like they're in Seasons 1 through 3, especially Have You Seen the Snail, which is my favorite episode, and that should be everyone's favorite episode in Season 4. As someone who has a cat, this episode really speaks to me, and is relatable, especially when I couldn't find my cat one day, and she was like in the woods or something. Also, the song Gary Come Home is by far the best song they used in SpongeBob. I'm gonna give SpongeBob Season 4 an 8.5 out of 10. Alright, now Season 5. For some reason, people seem to not like the season, but I think it's still great. The thing about Season 5 is the majority of the episodes are either very creatively thought out or very relatable. I've mentioned relatability in cartoons like the SpongeBob Season 12 review. I explained that relatability in cartoons is one of the main reasons everyone watches cartoons and why cartoons are massively successful. That's what makes cartoons awesome. And believe me, there's a lot of relatable episodes in Season 5. Like Waiting, which is relatable because it shows how long packages get arrived to your house, and having SpongeBob and Patrick fight over the toy is showing how 8-year-old siblings or friends can act. Whatever Happened to SpongeBob is showing how all of your friends could be complete assholes sometimes, and then you feel alone and insecure because of that. Stanley Gets SquarePants, I mean, I already explained that, how it's relatable in my part 2 of the Camp Coral review, so just watch that. Picture Day is relatable. Original Fry Cook is about a formal employee showing up at the Krusty Krab who's popular. Everyone doesn't care about SpongeBob and ignores what he has to say. SpongeBob gets jealous and feels like he isn't needed to work at the Krusty Krab anymore. The dude's also better at fry cooking than SpongeBob and teaches him. This episode is all about jealousy and someone taking your place, which is extremely relatable. Nightlight, I'm also scared of the dark, so yeah. Roller Cowards, which is basically about SpongeBob and Patrick being terrified of this one roller coaster, which is definitely something I used to be terrified of. I hated going on roller coasters, but this episode's about pulling through and going on the roller coaster anyways, just facing your fears and all that. This episode is relatable to everyone. Even if you love going on roller coasters, there's always going to be that one ride you're terrified of. Sounds strange, but even Fungus Among Us is relatable to me, considering the episode is basically a metaphor about head lice. As someone who had head lice before, this episode really speaks to me, okay? Season 5 also just has creatively thought out episodes like Atlantis SquarePantis, Battle of Bikini Bottom, which is the dirty versus clean episode, Rise and Shine, and especially Friend or Foe, which is probably my second favorite episode. My first would have to be Breath of Fresh Squidward. This is probably one of the most heartwarming episodes in SpongeBob, well, a little bit except for the ending. I'm not going to say much about it because you just need to watch the episode yourself. I'm going to give SpongeBob Season 5 an 8.7 out of 10.